Okay, hey gang, I am playing around with some video editing and audio editing software. I thought I would take this chance to read you the first chapter of my book. It's something I've been working on for several years. It's kind of inspired a little bit by Buffy the Vampire Slayer and this book series that I cannot remember the name of, but there's portals and magic and monsters and mayhem and stuff like that. So I thought I would read this to you and then maybe get your thoughts and also get some practice editing some audio, editing some video as well. So thanks for watching. Reagan swaggered past the lines, waiting outside the glowing X of the Crossroads Club. He caught dirty looks as he cut to the front. It made him smile. He flashed his special ticket at the bouncer, who crooked a disbelieving eyebrow at him before jerking his head inside. Reagan shrugged off the look and stepped through the doors into the lobby. He took a moment to examine the wall covered in old road signs and license plates before following the music to the dance floor. He checked his watch, the dive piece his dad had bought him for graduation. There were still a few minutes before he'd been told to be there for his match. Looking around the dance floor, it was crowded tonight. He thought about joining in but decided against it. He wanted to save his energy. He also didn't wander over to the bar and try to get a drink without being carded. He saved that for after his match. Instead, he looked for the door Sam had told him to look for. It was hard to see in the dim lights, but the burly dude in front of a steel door stood out. Somebody made it to the door just before him. A blonde-haired youth Reagan was sure had to be younger than himself. The bouncer smiled broadly at him and opened the door to let him through. When Reagan tried to follow, the door was slammed in his face. "Hold on," the bouncer said. Reagan noticed with distaste that one of his front teeth had a gold replacement. "Show me a ticket." "He didn't show his," Reagan complained, pointing at the door after the kid. "Yeah, he's a regular." "Fine," Reagan grumped, pulling out the ticket he'd shown to get into the club. The bouncer took it from him, looking at it closely. "Rookie, huh? Go talk to Sam. He'll be by the ring." "I know that," Reagan snapped, as the bouncer opened the door for him, revealing the staircase leading up. The dance floor had been chaotic, but it was nothing compared to the room at the top of the dark stairway. The music was quieter, but even the music downstairs would have been drowned out by the shouts and cheers of the crowd stuffed into the gymnasium-sized loft. Reagan wrinkled his nose at the smell of sweat and copper. The people here were wild, not listening to the music or dancing. They roared with approval or booed loudly, all eyes fixed on the chalk ring in the center where two men were tearing each other apart, fists flying as blood mixed with the shine of sweat flowing down their bare chests. Reagan clutched his ticket and took a deep breath, centering himself. The sight and smell of blood made everything very real for him all of a sudden. "You're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu," he muttered to himself. "You've got this." He started threading his way toward the ring, easier said than done. People did not want to move for him. He could see Sam, a smiling man in a sweat-stained suit 2 sizes too big, sitting at a cramped desk with a notebook in front of him. There was an emptier space around the ring. The people standing or sitting in it looked like fighters. "Sam!" he called out as he got closer. Sam turned toward him, the smile still on his face. "Ah, the thrill seeker," he said. "Come here, let's chat. Let me grab your ticket." In person, Sam was smaller than Reagan had expected. If he'd stood from the desk, he'd probably have only been about 5 feet 5 inches, not even close to Reagan's 6'4" height. He didn't stand though, just gestured for Reagan to kneel down by him. "Remind me, kid, you're just here for one match, right? Any interest in coming back? You said something about this being a post-graduation hurrah?" "Yeah," Reagan said. "I tried to get some of my buddies to do it too, but they were all chicken." "Good for you," Sam smiled. "Very brave of you, very exciting. Listen, you have fun tonight. You'll be fighting him." He pointed to the same blonde kid that had gone before Reagan into the loft. Next to the screaming crowd, he was incredibly still. His gray eyes watched the current fight carefully. Reagan had been ignoring the fight himself. It was getting pretty brutal. Both fighters were covered in blood, and he thought he'd seen a few teeth go flying. "Him?" Reagan asked. "He doesn't look like he's 18. I thought minors couldn't fight in the club." "Well," Sam's voice went up at the end of the word. "Warren's more mature than he looks, and he's a bit of a special case. You'll see. Don't worry about his age. Just give the crowd a good show, eh? There's another match after these guys," he said, eyeing the sway of one of the man's stances. "And then you'll be up. Shouldn't be too long." He waved Reagan away and started to scrawl quick dashes in his notebook. Reagan took his dismissal sourly, but decided to use the time to get a read on his opponent. "Hey, man," he said as he came up to Warren. "I'm Reagan. He held out a fist, expecting a bump. Warren ignored him, still watching the match. Regan frowned and let his hand drop. Anyway, I just wanted to wish you good luck. Sam says you'll be fighting me tonight. Warren snorted and finally looked at him, giving him a dismissive once-over. You're in the wrong place. If you're smart, you'll leave before our match. What's that supposed to mean? Regan said. I spent a lot of money to be here. He glared at the younger boy. He was barely 6 feet, and he was wiry. The muscles revealed by his long-sleeved shirt not nearly as bulky as Regan's. There was a sense of solidity in the way he stood, but Regan couldn't see why he was so confident. Sam made you pay, huh? Warren said. That sucks for you. How much? 300, Regan said, suddenly doubting himself. Did no one else have to pay? 300 for your own beatdown. You should honestly quit while you're ahead. Sam can have me fight someone else. Whatever, man. You're just trying to get in my head. Warren started going through some stretches, getting his shoulders limber. The match had ended and another one was starting. The one before theirs. I really don't care what you think. This is me being nice. If you stay, just know that I get a bonus if I break bones. Warren glanced down at Regan's arm. I think your left wrist will do. That's not one you need, is it? I can tell you use your right more. Screw you, Regan snapped. He turned and stalked away. He needed to do his own stretches. I was just trying to be nice. Me too, Warren said. The next match went quickly. It was two women. One got the other in a triangle choke and she submitted. There was much less blood than the previous match. Those men hadn't seemed to know what they were doing, just enough to pound on each other until one passed out. Regan knew his match wouldn't go that way. He visualized the hold he'd get Warren in. The cocky kid had talked about breaking his wrist, so Regan would get him into a lock that could break his arm if he didn't submit. Sam had a megaphone he used to announce Warren and Regan's names as the next match. There was a flurry of people stopping by Sam's desk, and Sam was scribbling in his notebook. Regan thought they might be placing bets, which was illegal, but the whole operation was sketchy anyway. Warren had talked about getting a bonus as well, so apparently some of the fighters were getting paid. That made Regan really mad. He'd catch hell if his parents knew he was here, and he'd spent a good chunk of his allowance on his ticket. He and Warren took their places in the ring. Warren had stripped off his shirt, revealing black letters in another language tattooed across one bicep. After a moment, Regan took his off too and tossed it by Sam's desk. There was no point in getting it torn or bloodied in the fight. They studied each other, ignored a few catcalls that came from the crowd as a few stragglers talked to Sam. Finally, Sam picked up his megaphone and said, "Go!" Regan shot forward. He made a feint to grab at Warren's arm before taking a kneeling step to get a hold on his leg. Warren barely reacted to the feint, danced back a step to keep his leg free, and snapped a kick into Regan's lower chest. It connected solidly, and Regan knew he'd have a throbbing bruise there, but his adrenaline let him ignore it. He rose to a crouch and slapped away Warren's fist as it sped towards his face. "Scared to go to the ground with me?" he taunted. "You strikers are all the same. Where'd you study? Taekwondo?" Warren didn't answer, just smirked and slammed his shin into Regan's forward leg. Regan's adrenaline didn't help that time. His shin felt like it had nearly broken. His balance was disrupted enough that he had no defense when Warren shot toward his good leg and used it to take him to the ground. Regan's training kicked in and he tried to shrimp away, curling and pushing with his legs to get back, but Warren was too fast. He had a hold on Regan's wrist and twisted it. Regan struggled and managed to hold him off for a second, but then Warren's legs were pushing his chest down and he was able to use his hips to anchor his hold. Tap, 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 tap. Regan squealed as he desperately paddled Warren's leg. Warren didn't stop, and Regan heard a crack before Warren released him and rolled to his feet. Then the pain registered, and Regan screamed. The crowd ate it up, going absolutely crazy. "And that's it, folks," Sam said over the megaphone. "Another win and another broken bone for Warren the Ripper." "Ripper, Ripper, Ripper," the crowd chanted. Warren leaned down towards Regan. "I did warn you. Don't come back here. You're not cut out for it." So I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me some feedback on it. I love that. A little bit of explanation. Warren is actually one of the more main characters of the book. I didn't mean for Regan to be likable. That's some of the feedback I got from this little scene, that he ended up being more likable than I wanted him to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. I'd love to hear anything else you guys are thinking. Thanks a lot.